Welcome back. My name's James, and this is the third episode of the Metal Gear Solid 3 FOXHOUND Rank video walkthrough. We'll cover quite a bit of ground today, including 3 new areas, 2 tutorials, and 1 boss fight. We'll visit the lake past Rassvet, Bolshaya Past Minefield, and Bolshaya Past Base, and we'll cover tutorials on dogs and holdups. Finally, we'll wrap up with tactics to use against Young Ocelot. Some elements of these strategies will prepare you for future areas and boss fights. These are not, however, strict guidelines. For example, if you don't plan to use rotting food to give soldiers in future areas upset stomachs, don't waste the ammo on killing snakes to provide yourself with rancid meat later. As noted before, one goal of this walkthrough is to provide you with options. Remember that you have them. Now, the first save file after the Ocelot unit left Snake with less equipment, so let's start there. If you use the second and third tactics against the Ocelot unit, consider your equipment a net gain. Given a choice between save files, I will always start with Snake in the weaker position with less health, less ammo, and fewer items. Snake starts in the ruins where we left off. Remove the silencers from your handguns. You won't need them in the upcoming areas. This is pretty straightforward, so just head northeast toward the lake. Now, the lake has no enemies and many animals. This area helps to prepare you with ammo and items after the last boss fight, and it will also get you ready for the unique challenges ahead. At the start, you'll find several snakes on the southern shore of the lake. Kill them to generate rotten food for later use. We'll see how this comes in handy later. There's a small cache of ammo in the shallow end of the west side of the lake. However, a gavial crocodile is guarding it. The gavial will swim towards Snake, stop over the items, and open its mouth. Kill the gavial, take its meat, and take the ammo. The meat will be invaluable very soon. Thermal goggles are really useful for locating ammo and items underwater. Leeches will attach to Snake while he's swimming. Leeches drain stamina, so you want to get them off as soon as possible. Check the survival viewer periodically while you're swimming to make sure that none have latched on. If you find you've caught a hitchhiker, use the cigar to burn it off. Swim northwest under the fallen tree, and you can kill this fish for more rotten meat later. Fire off those last 2 bullets for another magazine. Then check for leeches. Now, I like to stay positive, but I'm going to grumble about this. Now, a mini-reel will sometimes play to accompany survival viewer actions, right? Now, during the HD adaptation, they apparently did not change the mini-reel's aspect ratio and just stretched the original 4:3 video file. On top of that, they used a terrible codec that creates visual artifacts, rendering the final image a total blur. Frankly, this is unacceptable in an HD port and deserves reprimand, especially given the overall quality of the rest of the package. With that out of the way, let's go back to the game. In the shallows, you'll find grenades and Mark 22 ammo. Then head north to get a scripted call from Eva. Now, while they're talking, let's look at the crocodiles. The gavial crocs are avoidable, but they're interesting nonetheless. On land and in shallow water, they will swat you with their tail or their snout. However, in deeper water, they will grab Snake, break his spine, and drown him. They also move unavoidably fast once they notice him. I gotta admit, this gave me nightmares the first time I saw it. Now we want the crocodile cap, so first climb the tree, swing off the limb, and shimmy east on the rope. Use the traditional camera here. When Snake's feet are directly over the rope below, on the PS3, press X to drop, and then the triangle button to catch when Snake's hands are passing the bottom rope. Continue east, drop, and grab the croc cap. At the base of this little peninsula, there's some M1911 ammo and stun grenades, so grab those, swim east, check once more for leeches, and once you're on land, go east further to get some chaff grenades and Gakko camo. The Gakko camo is not so necessary, but the chaff grenades can be useful later. Now let's get ready for the minefield and dogs. Take out your AK and 2 gavial meats. You picked up some AK ammo, so fire a full clip into the air and add an extra magazine to your inventory. Put the AK back. Reattach your silencers. And head north. Watch out for the trap. Now, Bolshaya Past South has 3 unique features: electric fences, claymore landmines, and dogs. The area has 2 entrances, and this walkthrough focuses on the one to the southeast. From here, there are 2 ways to get past the first large fence. The first path takes you through a gap in the fence, and we're looking at that route now. The landmines in this area face south, and that means that Snake can run beside them or behind them, and they will not detonate. Crawl through this gap in these wires, and you are now in the second major area of Bolshaya Past South. Now let's look at a second way to get past the fence. Start out heading north as before. This time, however, instead of going through the center of the fence, keep running west and make sure you hug that south bank. This will keep you safe from both dogs and landmines. Your destination is the climbable tree in the northwest. This landmine faces south, so don't worry, you can climb the tree, it's not going to blow up on you. When you're climbing a tree, your camo index falls to 0, and you're highly visible. Particularly to these 2 dogs. Let's take a look now at how dogs work in MGS3. Dogs growl when they see Snake. After 2 seconds, dogs will bark and generate an alert. Now we need to understand the relationship between a dog's bark and the alert phase. Now you would think that dog barks create an alert because they draw soldiers to Snake's location. However, the dog will generate an alert no matter who's nearby. Here we see the second dog asleep and the nearest human guard knocked out, and the dog's bark still generates an alert. Now let's revisit that scenario. Here, Snake knocks out the investigating soldier with CQC. That soldier's incapacitation doesn't matter, because the dog's bark is enough. Though an alert sound effect triggers, a dog's first notice of Snake is equivalent to a soldier's white exclamation point upon perceiving Snake. You need to silence the dogs before they bark. You can temporarily distract dogs with food. Now this is key. Food will interrupt the transition from perception to alert. Even better, you can distract multiple dogs with the same food item for the same amount of time. Now, intuitively, yeah, 2 dogs eating the same pile of food will make that food disappear more quickly. But that's not the case here, fortunately. When they're done, you'll hear the item pickup sound effect. And if you're still around, the dogs will still trigger alert mode. Now let's look at what you can do while the dogs are eating. You have several options here. Food can be great bait for lining up a shot. However, do not shoot if they can still see you. Disturbing their meal will trigger an immediate alert. With a high enough camo index, you can shoot dogs while they're eating without triggering an alert. First, you need to throw the food from a hiding spot. You need to fire at the dogs from under cover as well. What's more, if you shoot a dog with lethal ammunition, it will still return to the meal if it doesn't see Snake. Now, dogs don't mind what you do as long as you don't interrupt their meal directly. In this sense, dog AI is pretty true to life. To test this, let's remove the silencer off the M1911 handgun. Snake can fire lethal weapons right next to the dogs and they still won't respond. You can even hit dogs directly with non-lethal items and they still will not respond. As before, once they're done eating, they will again move toward alert. The dogs are so absorbed that they will not react even if Snake electrocutes himself. So, you've got that going for you. Now, unlike real dogs, Metal Gear Solid 3's dogs have a limited appetite. Once they finish eating their first meal, they will not care for other food. That means you have one chance to distract them. Now, dogs will not eat just anything. They're smart enough not to eat food that's naturally poisonous or is already rotten. Now, they will go to the spot where you've thrown the poisoned frog meat, however they will growl at it instead of eating. Now, if you want to take your time through an area, throw some food and then take cover until they finish eating. When they're done, they'll look for Snake and then they'll go to sleep. Now, after they're finished eating, dogs will sleep longer than when they're shot with the Mark 22. As well, they're harder to waken. You can run circles immediately by them and they will still not wake up. But don't get too careless. They're still more reactive than when they're eating. Watching that never gets old. Now let's look at how dogs interact with this level. We'll start with the guard patrolling the mud to the east. Now you can manipulate the camo index or crawl to sneak around this guard. However, we want to move more quickly than that. Here, the guard's running our way in response to the dog's bark. You can use dogs as noise distractions like throwing magazines or knocking on walls. Dog noises have a greater range than either magazines or knocks. Using the same logic as with magazines and knocks, you can force noises from the dogs to break the East Guard's patrol pattern. Here, we use the dogs to make two noises by shooting each with the Mark 22. As we've seen before, the guard will walk to investigate one or two noises. Now, this can result in a fairly long wait for Snake and is therefore not ideal for a quick run through this area. "10 million years later, and our man finally rounds the bend. I'm showing you the long form of this guy's response to one or two sounds so you get a feel for exactly how much time you save by using that third sound. The dogs sleep only briefly after being shot with the Mark 22 and will awaken by the time he arrives. Now let's see how the situation changes by getting 3 sounds from the dogs. Shoot the first with the Mark 22, shoot the second non-lethally with the M1911, then put the second dog asleep with the Mark 22. I don't like to kill the dogs, and this gets 3 sounds out of them while leaving my conscience intact. Now the East soldier arrives on the double. You've now removed him as an obstacle 30 seconds sooner. Here's another way around his watch. Dogs will bark when they hear food hit the ground. Note that if the dog barks when it does not see snake, that does not trigger an alert. The guard will respond to that bark and again come to investigate. Unlike before, you now have time to run to this tree. As long as Snake crouches here with the woodland face paint and the tiger camo, the guard will walk right past. Now let's complete this strategy. One more time, we'll get the guard running with 3 noises from the dogs. Wait in this hollow, but don't bother to slam him when he runs past. Instead, just make your way east. 2 guards hold posts on either side of the main passage through the last electric fence. They both always look in the same direction at the same time. Build strategies around this fact. Here we'll distract them both at the same time with a low camo index. Run in a wide arc to the east. Snake's camo index is low enough that the guards will follow Snake if you don't break the line of sight. Use this tree in the center to do just that. The last soldier and last dog both patrol the northern area. The guard will usually perceive Snake when Snake runs to the east exit.
I'm just seeing things.
Throw the second gavial meat directly north to distract both the guard and the dog. Let's watch a slight variation of the same strategy. You can speed things up, of course, by getting 3 noises from the dogs. Hide in the hollow. And wait for the soldier to run past. Since the east guard runs more quickly to the dogs, he will return to his post sooner.
There's nothing here.
This means that you have less time for mistakes. As before, distract the 2 guards with a low camo index.
Who was that?
Now you probably won't get the guards to come at the same time, but try to stagger them as close together as you can. Sometimes the final guard to the north will see Snake and come to investigate.
Who's that?
To solve this problem, distract him with a magazine and then run immediately east.
I hear something. Nobody here. There's nobody here.
Finally, we'll leave Bolshaya Past South with a strategy for the west path. Now you'll want to move through the first fence by crawling through the center space. Distract both dogs with crocodile meat. And immediately run west. You should be out of sight by the time they finish. A smaller electric fence blocks this path. Guards coming to investigate Snake will go around the entire level to get to his location rather than simply approach the fence. Stand past these trees and use your binoculars to zoom in on the guards. When they're looking in Snake's direction, go into your survival viewer. Again, we'll distract these two guards with a low camo index. Because of the distance, however, the camo index needs to be really low. After you see their exclamation points, go right back to Survival Viewer and change back into Tiger Stripe Camo and Woodland Face Paint. Now there's one more guard here that has his back turned to Snake. Once he turns, move around so Snake gets his attention.
Something there.
When he comes to investigate, the next area is all yours.
Who was that?
Roll forward through the electric fence, and throw a gavial meat for the dog. The North Soldier will respond to the dog's bark. Throw a magazine north of his position, and he'll turn around. Now Snake can run west. Now we're at Bolshaya Past Base. There's lots to do here, and our first waypoint is the ammo shed to the northeast. First off, knock this soldier out. Now the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line, so we'll be going through the building. Now there's one soldier inside, so we want to distract him with knocks.
Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound?
Since we knocked 3 times, he'll come running. Enter the first room and hide inside your box. As soon as he exits through the south door, you can leave your box and proceed. Once you leave the building, don't stop running. Go behind these barrels so that a guard to the south does not see Snake. Inside the ammo shed, you'll find AK ammo, TNT, and M1911 ammo. Empty a full clip at the wall before you pick up the M1911 ammo. This will add another magazine to your cache. You can knock on the south wall here to distract the guard from his post at the communications shed.
Huh? I hear something. Huh? I hear something.
Now you can run straight north to the fight with Young Ocelot. Now let's look at some nuances of this strategy.
Huh?
The strategy requires deliberately delayed timing.
What's that sound?
You need to adjust your speed through the building to accommodate for the location of the guard patrolling behind helicopter. Accelerating the knocks by just half a second will place Snake in the guard's sight when he exits the building. You'll likewise disrupt the timing if you advance through the building too soon. To time your knocks correctly, wait for the indoor soldier to finish speaking before knocking again.
Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound?
Equip your cardboard box in the space behind the door. And only proceed after the indoor guard has left the building. Now the helicopter guard has moved past the exit and you are free to proceed. When you exit the building, you'll also have to accommodate for a guard to the north behind some barrels at the communication shed. It's easier to proceed once he's looking away. However, it's not a problem if he sees Snake. He will investigate Snake's location and be gone from his post when Snake moves past the communication shed. Once you're at the communication shed, he will have finished investigating and turned around.
Nobody here.
He'll see Snake on his way through, but this is not a problem if you move quickly. Now that we've taken this strategy apart and looked at the particulars, let's put it all back together. Knock this guy out. Draw the indoor guard outside with deliberately delayed knocks.
Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound? Huh? What's that sound?
Hide in the corner to delay travel through the building. Run directly to the barrels. Hit the ammo shed. Distract the communication shed guard.
Huh? I hear something. Huh? I hear something.
And leave the area.
What the...
Now let's see a way to get through here from the east. Disarm this guard. Hold him up.
Freeze!
And shake him down.
Please don't!
The second item that he drops is a Mark 22 silencer.
Huh.
Once you have that, just knock him out. Now run east around the border of the helicopter field. On your way to the ammo shed, you can go ahead and unload a clip into the dirt wall here. As before, grab the AK and M1911 ammo from the shed, as well as the TNT. And if you're comfortable with CQC, you can rush this guard at the communications shed from the side.
Huh?
Double check your items from the survival viewer to make sure you have at least your handguns and your cigar equipable. And go ahead and remove your suppressors from your handguns again. This is a great area to look at the mechanics of holding up guards, so let's do that now before moving on. First off, if a guard turns around and perceives Snake with a white exclamation mark, Snake cannot hold him up.
Huh?
To remedy this, lightly injure the guard to disrupt his attention. You can deck him and then hold him up.
Huh?
Freeze!
Similarly, you can shoot him with a silenced M1911 to keep him in one spot. If you shoot him from a 45-degree angle, you'll actually knock the AK out of his hands.
Freeze!
Aim at the guard's head in first person and you'll shake down an item.
Please don't!
Guards can take a lot of bullets on European Extreme.
Freeze!
Don't kill him, but you also don't have to be too gentle. This tactic is also good in a pinch to delay an alert if an enemy perceives Snake from a distance.
Freeze!
Sometimes, though, you'll get a headshot through sheer luck. And in this case, that's actually bad luck, so the tactic has its drawbacks. Now bear in mind, you need to raise your weapon when you're in hold-up range. Don't raise your weapon and then run in. The shooting delay is also good for closing distance if you're having trouble getting in CQC range due to ground noise.
Freeze.
Again, when you threaten a soldier with a headshot, he'll drop an item.
Please don't.
He'll throw it in any direction, so be mindful of your environment when going to retrieve it. This is hilarious, but
Freeze.
obviously not very productive.
Huh.
And as we see here, the guard will leave hold-up if left alone. Hold-ups are also a really good time to shoot out guard radios.
Freeze. Please don't.
If you're leaving a guard conscious, make sure the guard cannot see Snake leaving. After a certain distance, he'll go into alert. If you are leaving a guard conscious for whatever reason after a hold-up,
Freeze.
make sure that he's facing the direction opposite the way you're going.
Please don't. Huh.
He will be in caution mode once you leave. However, the other sentries will not if you shoot out his radio. Now, a soldier with a working radio will call in a caution when he sees the soldier that you held up distressed. Let's take a more direct look at that interaction. Here, we'll hold up this guard,
Freeze.
then shoot out the radio.
Don't shoot me, please!
Now we'll sit in the long grass and watch. If you'll remember from a previous video, we discussed that guards in caution mode have different routes. The southern guards at Bolshaya Past Base will man the installed turrets during caution mode. Note that the southeast soldier is not in caution. When he sees the distressed guard behind the turret,
What's wrong?
he'll call a caution mode for everyone.
HQ respond.
This is HQ.
Patrol here.
Now let's look at the most exploitable tactic for holdups. We're going to put this guard on the ground and then hold him up.
Please don't.
Holding up a guard who's lying on the ground is a very effective tactic. You can actually neutralize whole areas this way.
Huh.
Grab a guard using CQC, throw him down, and raise your weapon.
Freeze.
Now this guard is effectively out of action. To show how exploitable this is, let's put all the guards in the area on the ground in, say, under 2 minutes. On your mark, get set, go!
Freeze.
I'm Alexander the Great. Now all the guards are alive and held up on the ground. The logic of standing holdups disappears here. Whereas guards held up while standing will react after Snake leaves, guards held up on the ground will never get up. Perhaps they're more reserved because my style is impetuous, but the point is you can destroy things all over this map and not one guard will react. Behold! I'm brutal and useless. No, wait, that's not right. Anyway, as you can see, ground holdups can seriously break the balance of CQC as well as the challenge of sneaking in Metal Gear Solid 3, especially when you compare it to other enemy AI safeguards, such as the soldier's response to Snake's leaving after a standing holdup. However, if you are struggling with guards waking up after you leave, this can be invaluable for safeguarding your rear. Now let's move on with our focus. While on the radio, guard perception is significantly diminished. They only see straight ahead,
HQ respond.
and they do not hear footsteps even when they're practically on their heels.
Patrol here. We're under enemy fire. Enemy's position is unknown. Going into alert formation.
Knocking out a soldier making a radio call will not stop the caution mode. As well, you can call undue attention to yourself by holding up a guard making a radio call.
HQ respond.
This is HQ.
Freeze.
Interrupting a radio call will deploy support units to check on the soldier's condition.
Respond. There's something wrong. Support unit, confirm their status.
Soldiers making radio calls are likewise oblivious to other normal environmental distractions.
HQ respond.
This is HQ.
Patrol here. We're under enemy fire. Enemy's position is unknown. Going into alert formation.
Acknowledged. Sending reinforcements. Use extra caution.
We have one final point of interest before moving on to the fight with Young Ocelot. Snake can sabotage the Hind helicopter at Bolshaya Past Base. This Hind will patrol the mountain area between the End and the Fury later on. If destroyed now, the Hind will be replaced then with soldiers on flying platforms. The Hind and the platforms present different challenges and really mix up the feel of that area. So let's destroy this Hind now so we can explore that possibility later. In a sense, this area is still kind of a tutorial because it teaches you that sabotage influences gameplay. Later we'll sabotage buildings almost exclusively. For now though, grab the TNT from the ammo shed and pull it out of your backpack. Set the TNT anywhere near the Hind helicopter. Detonate the TNT right before you leave the area. Be sure that the guard patrolling the Hind is not nearby when you do. The explosion can kill him and cost you your FOXHOUND rank. Very little in this game is as frustrating as messing up your own FOXHOUND rank by accident, and it's definitely worth your while to make sure that you don't. If you want to be extra sure that he won't get caught in the explosion, knock him out when he's walking behind these barrels. If you're moving at a good pace through this area, he'll still be knocked out when you leave. Now, a word about sabotage generally. Later areas in the game have designated ammo and food sheds. Blowing up an ammo shed makes soldiers in the nearby areas more reserved when shooting. This is not going to be very useful for us in European Extreme, but it's valuable in other difficulties. Blowing up a food shed makes soldiers in nearby areas hungry and fatigued. Hungry soldiers eat anything you throw at them, and because they're fatigued, they have less starting stamina and will knock out more easily. Now here's a neat detail. If Snake stands under the hind tail, he'll bend over. The posture looks remarkably similar to the crouching run that was used in Metal Gear Solid 4 and Peace Walker, and as far as I know, this is the only location in Metal Gear Solid 3 that actually uses this posture. It's an interesting, usually overlooked detail. And with that, we're ready to tackle Young Ocelot. This is a fast-paced boss fight, with few chances to stop and watch, so we'll go through several victorious fights from start to finish in order to unpack all the details. Attack Ocelot using the Mark 22 from a third-person perspective. The concept of this boss fight is a duck-and-cover shootout, similar to Metal Gear Solid 2's fight against Olga on board the tanker.
Hold your fire!
Ocelot shoots from the hip, and Snake should too. With rare exceptions, first-person view becomes a liability, so don't rely on it. Stun grenades can prove very useful in this fight. First-person view is best when Ocelot stands still, so shoot him in the head while he's recovering from the stun grenade. There are 3 hornet's nests on Snake's side of the ravine on European Extreme. There are fewer hornet's nests here on lower difficulties, and we're collecting them now in order to get ready for the fight against the pain. Press X to skip this cutscene, and then fire from third person so you can keep moving. Snake will stagger when hit by Ocelot's bullets. Usually, Snake staggers only when receiving an injury such as a burn or a cut, not from standard damage. If Snake staggers in first-person view, the game will jerk you back to third person and possibly disorient you. Taking cover after receiving damage is crucial in this fight. Don't use first-person view unless you have a large window. After your first shot connects, the Ocelot unit will fire at Snake from behind. Duck here to take cover from the bullets, and then attack Ocelot while he's chastising his unit. Now shooting the hornet's nest obviously produces hornets. Equip the cigar to drive them away. Don't forget to unequip it. Leaving the cigar equipped can drain half of Snake's life over the course of this battle. You can most reliably land a shot on Ocelot in 2 circumstances. You can beat him to the draw after he exposes himself to attack. There's usually 1 second between the time Ocelot appears and then shoots. You need to take Ocelot's response to getting hit into account as well. After you connect, he'll respond verbally and then retaliate with his gun. Take cover as soon as you hit him. Throw a stun grenade when Ocelot is down to 1/3 stamina. Fire with the Mark 22. Then toss a final stun grenade while he's reprimanding his unit. Now let's focus on whittling him down to that last third. The best way to connect a shot in third person is to use the L1 button to lock onto your target.
Stay out of here.
However, because lock-on changes the direction of the camera, you can sometimes fumble by turning the camera away from your target when Ocelot takes cover.
I felt that.
Your chances of disorientation increase if you hold L1 to lock on through the whole battle. There is a way to prevent disorientation while using lock-on. Hold down the square button to run with your gun raised when you think you're about to shoot him. When you have an opening to shoot, press and hold L1 to lock on briefly. Immediately let go of lock-on after you fire. This'll happen sometimes, but don't count on it.
Love it!
When Ocelot initiates a quick draw duel, wait for him to walk into the open. Center him in first-person view, fire once quickly, and take cover.
Won't get away from me!
Putting these tactics together results in a kind of swooping pattern as you see here. Snake runs in and out of cover, fires once quickly in third person, and then retreats. In a phrase, the idea here is to run and gun. Now let's spectate a full fight to see everything in motion. Opening shot. Take cover. Hornet's nests.
Stay out of this.
Cigar. Capitalize. And gather hornet's nests. Lock on from cover when he exposes himself. And immediately take cover. Take advantage of his pause.
Won't get away from me!
With your gun raised, run to where he's going to be vulnerable and lock on to fire. Outshoot him when he pops from cover. Do not attack when he strafes across the center.
That range, huh?
First person view shot while he reloads. Capitalize on his distraction again. And then cap it off with a stun grenade behind the tree. And now, finally, we're going to save our game. For this first save file, I did not blow up the helicopter. And here's a second save file with the helicopter destroyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.